Hello and welcome to That Atheist Show. I'm Preston, that atheist dude.
And I am Connie, that atheist lady. Tonight we are going to be chatting with Laiman from Inciting Incident. And so,
Oh, Amy, thanks for coming on to the show tonight.
Absolutely, and thank you for coming on my show on, what was it, Friday? Yeah, it was Friday.
Yes, make sure to check out our interview on Friday. So how's Inciting Incident going? What do you have going on over there in Blog Talk Radio?
Well, Blog Talk Radio allows us to come on the air for, at least on our subscription, about 2 hours a night, and we utilize that to go on Friday nights and Sunday nights. Friday night, we tend to do more of a social issues-based show where we talk about current events and things that aren't exactly comfortable to talk about, like sexual assault, politically correctness, things like that. And then on Sunday, we just sort of blow off the week by talking about film, tropes, analysis, review, things like that. So it gives us a different balance and a lot of opportunities to explore issues that can be connected to each other as well.
That's pretty awesome. Now, everyone involved in that show is atheist, right?
I definitely identify as atheist. Heather does as well. Brian considers himself more of a lapsed Catholic. But we all pretty much approach it from a secular point of view, and a lot of the guests we've had do the same thing.
That's awesome. That's the way it's supposed to be. All across the board.
yeah, the secular approach is how you get to solutions to problems that work for everybody instead of just for that one dude over there.
Yeah.
Everything gets fixed realistically.
We approach the solutions instead of basing things on an incredibly outdated book, yes.
Absolutely. That's what a lot of people have trouble with.
Ideology, where this would work in theory if everybody on the planet believed this thing, which is never going to happen.
And if we totally ignore every scientific advancement since that time, so.
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
How long has your show been?
We'll ignore them, but we'll use them too, so we'll...
How long has your show been going on now?
We just had the 13th episode yesterday, so it's been going on for about 6 weeks. Like I said, we do 2 shows a week, so we're getting there, getting a little more consistent, getting some of the kinks worked out that come about when you start something on the internet that you don't tend to have a lot of experience with. I'd only done one other podcast with that before. But that was a much different kind of podcast. This was something that I had the idea for, started, owned, marketed. I approached most of the guests, and my roommate and best friend Brian signed on with me, and we've been working with it that way ever since.
That's pretty awesome.
Where do you? We definitely know how that goes. We had no earthly idea what the hell we were doing when we started either. We're just like, let's do a thing.
Yeah, it's kind of fun that way, though, isn't it?
It is. You learn a lot without realizing what you could have or could not have learned otherwise. You just learn a lot.
Definitely.
We took our whole first season as basically a trial and error stage.
That's what you got to do, because you get feedback from other people, and then you get that feedback from listening to it yourself and figuring out what you can do better. And just either being in front of the camera, being on the mic, speaking to other people helps you improve just from a confidence standpoint.
Absolutely, especially in person.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Especially being on video.
I have plenty of experience with that, as I've mentioned.
Right. Now, what do you look to achieve in the long run?
In the long run, I'd like to get to the point where I don't want to say live off of doing this work, but it would be nice to be supplementary. I'd like to get to the point where I have an audience that is more people that I don't know than I do, which it is at that point, but not quite to the proportion that I'd like it to be. I'd like to be at the point where if I approach someone that I really want to have on the show, they'll take my call or return my email. That I think is the biggest one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's always a perk. We would also like to get there. I think that's everybody's dream. If they're doing this sort of thing, we're like, it would be nice if people
that we didn't
took
know.
us seriously.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I kind of take pride in, is the fact that all of our subscriptions are from people who are interested enough to open our channel, click subscribe, and they want to see what we have to say. It's not like we're paying for Facebook to throw a link out there and say, click on this, and we're paying you to do it, basically, and then you get a bunch of numbers that don't matter. Numbers that aren't watching. You got 4,000 subscriptions, but you only get 20 views every night. It's like, does it really matter at that point? It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's tough, especially nowadays with so many different media out there and so many different people trying to get their voice out there. Brian made the metaphor before, and I think he took it from Yahtzee, and he said, broadcasting or putting something on YouTube is like taking a message in a bottle and throwing it into an ocean made out of messages in bottles.
It's true, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's flooded.
It really is.
Especially for atheist stuff.
There used to be a channel I had on Blip. I much preferred Blip. They weren't so gung-ho on copyright stuff, and they gave you much more opportunity to work with and time length. And you could make a video as long as you wanted. They didn't care, and they had ad revenue before YouTube did. And I was with them for about 3 years, and then for some reason they decided to kick a bunch of people off, including people who were really successful. And within a year they were dead, so I was pretty okay with that.
Makes sense.
Yeah, well, if you kick off your best content creators, then people are going to stop using your platform. That's just kind of the way that goes.
Imagine that. If you're a dick, people notice.
Yeah.
If people won't want your business anymore, imagine that.
Strange how that works.
Right.
Actions have consequences.
No way.
Who knew? Thought we could just do whatever the fuck we wanted. Piss into the wind and nothing will happen.
Don't get
Your
anywhere.
name's Donald Trump.
Yeah, really. He could stand on Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody, and his voters will still follow him.
Yeah,
And they
pretty much.
cheered on that. They were like, "Yeah, we would." Fucking you assholes! Like, come on, seriously? Do you guys talk about politics at all on your show?
We do. Like I said, we approach it from the atheist point of view, like we try to do everything else on the Friday shows. But I wouldn't say it's been as much politics as it's been the politically correct atmosphere. We've had to. We did several episodes on what PC meant to different people, and how we called it the culture wars at first, but we tried to broaden that up a little bit. And we had one show where there were a couple of people who were really resistant to the idea of being PC, of the words feminist, of SJWs, from their perspective. And then the next show we had 3 different people. We had a feminist, we had a gender fluid sex worker, and we had a trans man that I know, who all 3 of them gave amazing, compelling stories about how political correctness mostly is just not being an asshole.
That's my thing, is that fucking Trump is always saying, they don't want me to be politically correct. And it's like, no, bro, they just don't want you to be a fucking asshole. Like, it's about respect. That's it. To me, that's what political correctness means. It's just like, if you're being a complete dickhead, nobody needs to fucking listen to you.
I found that most of the time, obviously not all the time, but most of the time, when someone's bitching about someone being too PC, they've been called out on their bullshit, or they offended somebody and don't like the repercussions.
Right. Like, if I'm offending somebody, I want a logical, reasonable explanation to why I'm offending them and why I shouldn't say that thing again. It has to be a really compelling argument, and then I'll be like, okay, I'll never say that again. If it's a good enough argument. But if it's just like, oh, that just hurt my feelings. It's like, well, if it hurts your feelings, but it's true, then you got to deal with it. Like,
and even if it's not true, that's not necessarily a reason either. But if you're using a term that's meant to be hateful or disrespectful or ignorant, you probably shouldn't be using that term. And a lot of the times when we're talking about those kind of terms, it's used to insult or degrade people.
Exactly.
And for some reason, those are the only words that people complain that they're not allowed to use anymore.
Right, and that's where it comes back to respect.
I'm not
that it's
allowed
like,
to be a total fucking asswipe.
Right.
Oh no, people don't like it when I'm a dick.
and it's not even that they're not allowed, it's just that people don't want to deal with it. That's all it is. Like, nobody's really literally stopping them. Everybody's just saying, well, if you say that, then I have the ability and the right to think you're a fucking asshole.
Absolutely.
I don't,
Like, if somebody calls, like, my autistic son a retard, obviously I'm going to get pissed off.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to go mama bear on their ass. And they can't be like, oh, well, you're just too sensitive. And be like, no, you fucking called my kid a retard.
Right.
You know, like, you don't do that shit.
Exactly.
Like, what, you expect me to just sit here and not say anything to you? No, that's not the way it works.
Like, really, that's what you're going to make your last stand on, using an outdated word that's meant to degrade someone's intelligence, or to disrespect someone who is autistic or has special needs. That's really the most important thing in your life, and that's what you're going to make your stake on? Really? You can't think of a better
being
word?
able to be a fucking asshole, basically. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
I remember I had something happen like that on my personal Facebook. I was quoted in the newspaper in an article about depression, and someone made a really, really hateful comment on it. And I responded like, that's really inappropriate, and I really don't want that on my page. And when she went off on one of those, oh, well, you can't really say anything to anyone anymore. Everything's so PC. It's like, no, you're being an asshole, and I'm letting you know. There's a difference.
Exactly. There's no censorship fucking going on here. And just like the whole thing with Chicago and Trump, when they did the rally and the protest to stop him from going in there, nobody told him that it was dangerous enough for him to shut it down. They told him that they were going to hold that thing and that the police were ready for all that was going on. And Trump decided, oh no, I'm just going to shut it down. And it's like, well, these people, these people are just wanting to say, hey, you're a fucking asshole to his face. That's all they want to say. But he was so afraid of that dissent that he just canceled the whole thing on his own. It's just like,
oh,
well,
no,
that's real presidential.
Tell me what they think.
Yeah.
And it's also like, he is totally cool with telling everybody what he thinks, but he doesn't want to hear what anybody else has to say.
Yeah, he'll censor
because
them.
he has such thin skin. He's like, he can't handle it. He can dish it out, but he can't take it.
He sued Bill Maher for making a joke about him being the son of an orangutan for $5 million. The guy... I wish that was a joke, but it's not.
That's not The Onion? Fuck.
No, that actually happened.
Holy shit. What an idiot. That idiot is like the biggest hypocrite I've ever heard in my life.
The guy who's complaining about people being too politically correct for not saying that we should torture more people sued a comedian over a joke.
Right. And that's... Yeah, wow.
The hands thing, that still cracks me up.
I love that John Oliver keeps going on that. There's his tiny little sausage fingers. I hope he keeps doing that every week.
I think it's sad that our comedians of the networks have become more trustworthy than the actual political pundits. I trust John Oliver and fucking John. I trusted Jon Stewart when he was doing Daily Show more than I did any fucking CNN host or any fucking.
Oh, absolutely.
Like,
they actually do investigative journalism. John Oliver and his team of writers do a great amount of research into topics that they brought into the main topics of the show that I didn't even know about.
Yeah.
I didn't know what civil forfeiture was before I saw that episode. Like, they're
Local
doing
elections.
actual research. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, they always bring the facts out, and then the conservatives come back. Oh, he's such a libtard. It's like, so you just didn't watch the episode.
Pretty much.
You just ignored all the facts.
Yeah.
And then when they jump to libtard, it's like, okay, so you don't have any actual valid rebuttal to the argument. You're just gonna call him a libtard.
Yeah, that's all they can do. That's it.
Yeah.
They've got nothing.
Yeah, nothing.
Oh, you said libtard. Clearly, you have no argument whatsoever.
Yeah, that basically is just the flag, the white flag. They're just like, oh, you're a libtard. You don't know anything anyway. And it's like, well, I guess you have nothing to contribute. All right.
We will just file you under the feces throwers of this particular side and move on.
Yeah, basically, the monkeys.
The monkeys.
Ridiculous.
The
Not
poo
to be
slingers.
Not to be confused with the Davy Jones monkeys.
Right.
Those are a bunch of people who played music that they couldn't play and never wrote and all that good stuff. Wait.
Yeah, that's an older band, isn't
Oh yeah, 60s.
it? So how did you get in touch with Heather? I know that she's somebody that we know through a group on Facebook. Is that how you met her also? Because your other host is your roommate, you said.
Yes, Brian is he was the first co-host, and we've known each other for 18 years. We've done pretty much everything from acting classes to improv to, going to comedy shows together. In fact, the reason we became friends was because we could do a two-part comedy bit for all our friends at the diner back, when we weren't old enough to drive and actually go places that were fun. But after that, we've done panels at conventions, which we did last year, and we're going to do this year at Techo in Pittsburgh.
Nice.
But Heather, I'm like I said, you said, we're a member of the same community, and I started following her because she was a comedian, and I actually started talking to her one day because she had thought that she came up with an original joke, but she was actually quoting George Carlin. And I told her not because I was accusing her of joke stealing, but I just wanted her to know that that joke was already taken. And from there, we talked occasionally, but I just felt we needed a different voice on the show to join us because Brian and I can be so similar. And, when you know somebody that long and you live together and you do a lot of things together, sometimes you can develop parallel thinking and mannerisms. Like he and I, at some points, have the exact same laugh.
Oh, wow.
So
That's strange.
it really is. But we're both 30.
You're
and we-
becoming each other.
Yes. Eventually, it'll just be two hosts.
Using.
So, but we invited Heather on as a guest because I wanted to promote her comedy because I think she's really funny.
Yeah, she is.
And it went over so well that I said, "Why you should just be on the show all the time." And here we are. She's part of the show now.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, she's growing every week. She is getting better. She's getting more assertive. She's getting better on the mic. I don't have to cue her up to ask questions during an interview. She is progressing so quickly, and I'm so proud of her.
That's awesome. Everybody needs that first step.
Absolutely.
It's kind of how me and Preston ended up meeting was because I was brought on to somebody's show as a guest. And then
We were
like,
both
he
brought
was
onto the same show.
Yeah, we were both brought onto the same show as a guest, and then we ended up like meeting that way. And then we were on another show together, and then decided that we just work better together than with those other people.
Yeah, we had a
now
third
here
guy
we
we
are
just
doing
didn't
a
like.
thing.
We just didn't like the third guy. We were just like, let's just do our own thing.
Yeah, there you go. Sometimes that's how it happens.
Yeah, really. It worked out really well, all within a month.
Yeah, when I did the video show, I would always bring different people on. I did some shows by myself, but I would bring different people on to try to get their perspective. And I remember we had one episode in Minnesota where everybody was so drunk that we probably shouldn't have ever actually released it, but we did. And this girl, I love her to death. She is one of my closest friends, but she is not an actor. And she was reading her lines like,
That's
I guess I should say this now.
That's terrible.
It was hilarious in the very wrongest of ways. And
That's awesome.
yeah, so you live and you learn, you make mistakes and you grow from them.
Exactly. That's how life works. It's what we learn.
It really is.
Now, that next convention you have coming up, what was it called?
It's called Techo. It's anime and comic convention. It's in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and it's the 7th through the 10th. I'm not much of an anime person, but pretty much everyone I know is. So I find a lot of like-minded people there, even though I don't have that one specific interest. and one of my favorite comedians and a friend of mine, Uncle Yo, is there, and we'll actually both Brian and I will be in the Friday night improv with him on the main stage. So that's
wow.
going to be a really big thing for us. But we also got our panel Issues with Adaptation, where we talk about, in this specific case, video games being made into movies and the issues that have come up with those different particular entities. And
so many issues.
yeah, definitely. But that was the one we started last year, and the one we brought into our podcast, where we'll pick a specific entity, talk about we'll say the game itself, and then the movie itself, and then the issues that went into different marketing, different choices that were made, the target audience, things like that.
Have either of you seen Batman vs Superman?
Not yet. We just watched Movie Bob's review of it, so I've seen everything from it's a really awesome movie to it's the worst thing ever committed to celluloid. So
Yeah, I've been hearing some really horrible things. I read one article that
I have not
was
heard
huge.
anything good. I have not heard one person say one good thing about it.
Well, did you guys see the sad Affleck thing that I posted?
yes.
That was the best. That was literally the best.
But here's the thing. As someone who studied film, you really can't take the critics as much as you can the final box office receipts. That is what makes it considered a hit or not.
Yeah.
And the fact that it made $180 million opening weekend means that it's a success, regardless of how much it gets trashed.
Yeah, regardless of how shitty it actually is.
And they keep making Transformers movies, and everybody seems to hate them, but everybody seems to keep go seeing them, you know?
You're like, is this going to be better? No, it wasn't better.
I only saw the first one. I didn't get suckered into the rest.
I saw the first two. I didn't see the third or the fourth one. But, I don't know. I read one huge article like about this huge Superman fan, and he was like, the last movie destroyed everything we've ever known about Superman, and then this movie just fucking killed him. I was like, oh my god. Fucking like this dude was like really impassioned about it, but he had evidence to back it up. Like he was referencing like the oldest comics to the newest comics, and he was just like, "This is the case that I'm making," and I was like, "This is a valid case." Like I don't even want to see this movie because it's not Superman to me anymore. It's ridiculous.
I think the biggest problem with this version of Superman is that they saw the success of the Dark Knight trilogy and the Christopher Nolan vision and took the wrong things out of it and applied it to the wrong person. Superman is not Batman, but they heard too much of this, oh, Superman's so boring, I really like Batman. So they said, oh, why don't we make Superman like Batman? No,
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Try to darken him, and you can't fucking darken Superman. It's Superman.
Exactly.
He's supposed to be the light, the shining light of glory to all of the planet.
I've never liked Superman.
But like in
why.
his whole like his whole essence of Superman is being like the one good, like pure good of all of humanity. Like he'll go out of his way to save people.
I never liked the good characters in stories. Like
They're
just
always boring.
Yeah. Like, oh, he's gonna go do the good thing again.
Batman's cool because he's really smart about it.
Yeah.
He's just intelligent.
Yeah, he's not super powered. He's just a really intelligent guy.
Exactly.
And that's pretty cool.
Definitely.
I like Batman.
I'll always like the original Superman. Well, the original movie Superman, the 1978 Christopher Reeve version. I think Richard Donner definitely got it right. And the closest thing that anybody's done to getting it right since is a different character, which is the Marvel Captain America movies. I think they get the essence of Steve Rogers right, and I wish they would apply that to Superman a little more, because they're essentially the same Boy Scout.
Different, different universe.
Exactly.
Basically. So now let's get into atheism itself. How did you grow up? Did you grow up in a religion? Did you grow up as a non-believer? How did you transition to atheism?
Well, I wasn't really raised with it too much. I can remember being in Sunday school when I was about 5 or 6, but my parents never pushed it, and we moved to Pennsylvania just before I turned 7 years old, and they never made me go. And my parents have my mother has told me that she regrets not raising me with religion, and I've often told her, no, I'm glad you didn't, because it allowed me to choose for myself instead of being raised with it before I was old enough to understand what I was learning. And I made several different attempts to learn about the religion, and I even made attempts to believe it, but I could never get that voice out of my head that says, you're trying to convince yourself of this, you don't actually believe it.
Right.
I dated girls who were religious, and I would go with them, and I conflated the feeling of euphoria of doing something with them with feeling the presence of God or something like that.
Yeah.
And the worst example was when I was dating this one girl who went to a church that I think Glenn Beck would find a little too extreme.
Wow.
And, it was one of those fall on the floor, speaking in tongues, getting drunk on the Holy Spirit churches. And, I kept my mouth shut for the sake of the relationship and because I lived with the family for a while, so I knew not to rock the boat. But it really took bringing a couple of my friends in who had never seen something like that. And even my friend Joey, who is a devout Catholic, affectionately dubbed it Freak Church.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was when I
Catholic.
that was when I was 20, and it scared the shit out of my Catholic friends. From there, like I said, I was about 20. I'm 30 now. I've really spent the last 10 years in varying stages of atheism and have never really felt any call to go back to any kind of religion. I would say I transitioned from a young kid in his 20s who just yelled at everybody to now moving more toward, I don't want to say passive, but someone who's at least going to try to make a rational conversation out of it and who's not going to be mean about it until you're a dick, at
Yeah.
which point, game over. I'm not much, I'm not a lot like the scathing atheist or the amazing atheist or a lot of these people who rant and go on full attack mode, but I have been a lot more assertive, especially since I started my own podcast and have a platform to speak out on.
Definitely.
It's a lot more effective to be intelligently assertive rather than just acting like the people that we don't like on the other side. It's like
Right.
I think that a lot of the atheist community kind of does the same thing that we all claim to hate, is just yell insults. And it's like, okay, you don't like it when they do it, so maybe you should not do it either. Like, because we could only improve the conversation and by modeling the behavior that we think the other side should be doing, so it doesn't really help the situation to just be screaming at them.
Right.
Absolutely.
Because
And
it doesn't
there's
work when they scream at us.
there's a lot of different approaches to it, and I don't want to discount anyone's approach to it, especially scathing atheists. No Illusions is one of my favorite people to listen to in the atheist community. I listen to all three of his podcasts, and I patronize all three of them as well. I'm just not that kind of person. I don't have that personality most of the time to be angrily ranting, and I want to say his rants are some of the best constructed, most well thought out rants that I've ever heard.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just not me.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
you
it
can
all
get
has
that
it.
impression.
Yeah, it all has its place. I think
Yeah.
that sort of stuff is like entertainment for other atheists. Like,
Mhm.
we get amusement out of it more so than it is helping bring people out of religion or really have a constructive debate or anything. It's just like we enjoy it because
definitely.
we're thinking it, but we don't all say it.
Right.
Sure. I mean, it's easier to preach to the choir, so to speak, not to use a religious metaphor there. But the most I'm gonna guess that most of the people who listen to atheist podcasts are either atheists or religious people looking to bitch about atheists.
Or they're looking for the perspective that because they don't believe
Well,
anymore and they found the atheism and they're just like, oh, well, let me see what
we
these guys have to say. It happens.
we have people that are religious that watch our show, and they did come to it wanting to just bitch at us.
Yeah.
for being atheists and you know, shit talking religion the whole time or whatever, and then they saw that that's not what we're doing
Right.
and actually ended up liking the show. So it's been kind of weird that on our page we'll have actual like debates that aren't just arguing.
But there is
Between-
still a lot of arguing.
There is still a lot of arguing, but that's usually whenever somebody that doesn't actually watch the show comes out of the woodwork to just be an asshole.
Well, we get people that post on our page and they're like, "What do you want to do? Just disprove God?" And it's like, well, if you look at our description, we have nothing mentioned about proof or God.
Yeah, like
we just don't talk about them.
Those people have not watched the show.
Yeah.
So, like the people that drop by in our YouTube comments just to say, just dropping by to leave
Dislike
a
it.
dislike. Yeah. Like,
It's pretty
okay.
funny. Like, what I try to do is I'll try to, like, initiate the rational conversation, and then once they start to, like, devolve into insults, I'll try to bring them back. I will attempt to, like, ignore it and just go with it and just be like, all right, now let's try this. Now what do you have for this? And then they just keep going with the insults, and then I just give up, and I'm like, all right, this is entertainment at this point. And it just becomes a shit show.
Yeah, I
that
became
point
a
on.
fan of yours through your screenshots, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it just becomes hilarious at one point, and, like, I have nothing else to do but to just join them and just be like, okay, let's insult each other real fast.
Yeah.
Why not? You're not going to go anywhere else with it, so let's just do that.
It's like, okay, well, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Just-
and I just posted a meme about that a few, like, 2 weeks ago, where it's like, it's what ad hominem is. It's like when your argument is that this is not this because you're an idiot, that's an ad hominem. That's a false argument. But when you're saying it's because of this, you dumbass, that's not ad hominem. That's just a straight up factual insult. Like, that's what it is.
We've been fortunate enough to not get too much of that on our show, because our show is approached around the idea of, here are a bunch of issues, let's talk to people who have different experiences than ours about them, and let's have a conversation. Our show isn't strictly an atheist show, it's more of a show from the perspective of atheists.
Mhm.
And, we approach the ideas of culture, political correctness, and whatever else happens to be a hot button topic at the moment, and just try to have a conversation about it. Not to say this is what atheists think, but more, we are atheists and this is how we see it.
Yep.
So I often think that's an important distinction to make if you're trying to have a conversation with people that aren't just an echo chamber.
Yeah, that's what we do with the show, definitely. On the page, though, totally different story.
Well, of course.
on the page, I'm making fun of shit left and right. I don't even care.
Yeah, but
so funny.
definitely on the show, because in a lot of topics, it's like me and Preston vary on how we think about it personally, but then we try to discuss it in a fact-based manner instead of like, but then we'll say, but this is kind of how we personally feel about it, but we don't have anything that backs that up. So what we're going to actually promote are the science and fact-based parts of it. Like whenever we did our gun control episode, we pissed off like everyone.
Yeah.
Like
Well, like we decided to do like as much research as humanly possible. So I scoured fucking Google for like studies and like facts on the issues, and I couldn't find anything. I couldn't find anything to back up I couldn't find anything to back up either side, for or against. So I decided I'm for science. I want us to fucking put money towards studies on this so that we have more factual information to base off of these laws. If we're not doing that, then we're throwing all these laws out that could possibly have a negative effect, even though we think it's going to be good. Mm-hmm. If we take away guns and now there's no guns, but there's still illegal guns, you could have more innocent people dying. If you give guns, to everybody, you're just a fucking idiot. like that side is absolutely wrong. Like, just give everyone guns? No. That's just dumb. but when you're looking at...
Did you hear that they're trying to get open carry at the freaking Republican National Convention?
Do it! Do it! Just fucking do it! Why not? I mean, shit.
That he embarrasses me.
see what happens.
Dude, I mean, yeah, that is the dumbest idea, because you gotta realize that there are ignorant fucks out there. that they don't give a fuck to listen to you, and they would rather shoot you, and they say it. They say, if you don't agree with me, I will shoot you.
Yeah, we've skipped some levels here.
Yeah, like it's ridiculous.
They go straight to like over 9,000 on everything.
Yeah, like shit escalates way too quickly with some of these people.
Yeah.
And it's still on both
Living
sides
in
of the debate
Oklahoma,
too.
I know that.
And
You'll
even
be, like,
that
walking through Walmart, and then all of a sudden, like, you accidentally bump into someone's cart, and they're ready to throw down in the middle of like the produce section. It's
Well,
like, okay, guy, can
yeah.
we just say we're sorry and walk away from each other? Does it have to be so serious?
There are incidents in clubs where some dude has his foot stepped on and he pulls out a gun and starts shooting people, and it's just like, these people just are fucking dumbasses, period. Like, if they're doing that at a club, then anywhere they go, they're going to be just as stupid, no matter what's in their hand. They're going to be
I was in
dangerous.
community college when Newtown happened, and that was when I wrote. I wrote for the school paper at the time, and I wrote a very lengthy article about how the situation made me feel and about how guns made me feel. And the whole point was I didn't take a stand on it, but I also said we can't any longer do nothing, because it seems like every time we have any kind of shooting incident, we just say, now's not the time to talk about it, now's the time to do this. And that it's always just a bunch of deflection of conversation rather than actually having a conversation. The one thing I will say, I've never touched a gun. I'm not interested in guns. I don't want a gun. I don't even like seeing guns. But when you have a gun, it becomes an option. And when you have an option, even if you never use it for the wrong reasons, there's a part of you that's going to consider it consciously or subconsciously. And that's why people who happen to have one on them, who may not be rational or considering nuance, immediately jump to that because that's their option. And you look back at how Americans have been portrayed in media and a lot of the stories we've been raised with. If you go back to the 1940s and 50s, Westerns, the heroes are always the people who say, well, I'm going to get revenge, and that means I'm going to shoot some motherfuckers. And that's really what a lot of people grew up with, is handle your problems by pulling out a gun and being a big damn hero.
Yeah, a lot of the glorification around violence is the main reason for the issues that we see.
It really is.
Yeah, which, I mean, that seems to be changing in the younger generation a little. I've noticed we're, like, the millennials, I guess, call them, people don't seem to be as bad as that, but like my dad's generation, like, he's in his 50s and he's still like, oh, I'm gonna kick a motherfucker's ass. And I'm like, dude, you are like limping and you're old, man. Just go sit down somewhere. You're not gonna kick anybody's ass.
Or these kids are in my yard. Let me pull out my shotgun. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, just chill the fuck out for like 2 seconds and think about it.
I had a shotgun pulled on me when I was a kid.
It's fucking retarded.
I actually legitimately got shot at quite a few times as a kid.
That's crazy.
I grew up.
Like, why? You're a kid.
Because I stepped too close to someone's cow. I don't fucking know.
Just last week,
Oklahoma, and that's what people do here.
Just last week, a dog ran out of an apartment this apartment was wrongly knocked on by the police. They went to the wrong apartment. They knocked on the door. She opened it. The dog came out of the apartment with his tail wagging, and the cop shot the dog. And killed it within seconds. And the dog was literally wagging his tail, just walking towards him, and it's all on video. Yeah, and it's all on video. It was a pit bull, and like the lady was like, "The city needs to pay for this." She even paid for the cremation. She paid like $300 out of her pocket. She's like, "No, the city needs to pay. Like, this is fucking fucked up. That is some crazy shit."
It's
People
definitely
get too trigger happy.
Yeah, it's a one step to violent culture, and that, you know, we talked about this.
Our culture.
On Friday night's show, the same one where we aired the interview with you, Preston. I made the point that a lot of people seem to not have this connection between this immediacy to violence that we have in our rhetoric versus how we respond when it happens to us. Mm-hmm. Because I'm 30, so I was a teenager when 9/11 happened. And I remember a lot of the rhetoric following those attacks and following the invasions of Afghanistan and Iraq were let's nuke them all and turn it into Lake Iraq or something like that. And then the same time when one of them bombs someone we like or anyone else, we go, why do they hate us so much? Could it be the fact that you're advocating fucking genocide? I don't know.
Yep. Human genocide, no matter where it is.
Yeah, I'm 32, so I was, same age, same. So, yeah, and then being in the middle of Oklahoma, it was very much, everyone had to prove that they were a patriot. And, they had their guns ready. And if those ragheads came running over here, they were going to do something about it, And it's like, no, what the fuck are you going to do?
You're in Oklahoma. You're like in the middle of the country. They're going to have to go through a lot to get to you.
By the time they get here, if they get here, we're fucked. Like, whatever they use to infiltrate the country that far, your shotgun isn't going to do shit to stop them.
Yeah, basically.
Think of it like Independence Day. Was Oklahoma City mentioned in the big cities that the aliens were going to destroy? No.
Nobody cared about Oklahoma.
Nobody gives a shit about us.
Yeah, like I'm in New York City. If anything happens to our country, it's coming here first. New York City. I mean, it's already happened. I was here. I was in the Bronx though when 9/11 happened. Gosh. And I remember I was in 6th grade and my teacher was a total rebel. Like total rebel. She always promoted science and it was in a Catholic school, so that was very bad. Yeah, it was really crazy. Like during tests, she would have us play Shakira, so we would be calm enough to take our tests. Shakira. So on 9/11 though, I think they got called out of the classroom at like around 10 o'clock because it happened at 9:40. Mm-hmm. They got called out, came back in about 20 minutes later, and she was like crying, like trying to hold it back. And we're all just really confused sitting there because we were just in the class alone for 20 minutes and we had no idea why. Yeah. And she came back in and she's like, all right, I'm going to tell you guys. She's like, the principal told me not to tell you guys, but you guys have to know. And she turned on the TV and we saw the things coming down. And at the same time, we started hearing sirens. And I'm not even exaggerating. These sirens happened for 2 weeks. More than that, probably, because they were coming from all states. Every state, they were coming driving, just these cops just flying through all these states to come assist. And we watched the freaking repeat, that whole loop of that thing happening for about a week on every news channel. That shit was crazy. And then in New York even we have people just like bomb them all, kill them all. Democrats, Republicans, they didn't give a fuck. They saw the Twin Towers coming down, they were ready for blood, all of them. And it was fucked up.
It really was. I mean, I can't even imagine being as close as you were.
It was crazy because literally, I'm not exaggerating when I say it was about a month of sirens, like just woo woo all day, no stopping at all. And one of the girls in my classroom, her mom actually worked in the area, so she immediately started crying. Turned out a week later that we found out her mom had been walking across the bridge and then turned around and started running away from the soot and got covered in the soot cloud.
Wow.
Crazy shit. Really crazy. So, yeah, everybody was ready for blood at that point.
Yeah, I remember. And we're now reaching the age where, because I'm in college now, I'm reaching the age where the kids I go to school with don't remember it. And that's really an interesting life check.
That's insane.
I remember one of my history and film class, one of the weeks started out with, now none of you were really old enough to remember 9/11, and I'm like,
wow. I mean, I went to the museum very soon after it was finished, the Ground Zero Museum, and I gotta tell you, man, that was some crazy shit to walk through, like seeing all the actual pieces that were left over after all of that, and to see all the pictures of the families and like the things that flew out of the windows and fell down and that they gathered, like just personal belongings from the offices and stuff like that. That was insane to see.
Wow.
Very insane. I recommend everybody go to that museum just to get a sense of empathy and a sense of belonging to this planet, basically. That we're all here experiencing the same shit.
It's the new generation's Vietnam Wall.
Yeah.
the feeling you're describing is the same one my dad described when he went to visit the Vietnam Wall in D.C. So yeah, I've got to agree with you, and I'll be making that trek at some point.
It's insane. It's really worth seeing, definitely. It's really fucked up.
Yeah. I'll have to do that too. I still haven't even made it to the Oklahoma City Memorial.
There's
That's bad.
actually...
I've driven by it and I'm like, I should totally go in there, but I don't
Talking about the
wanna.
McVeigh thing, right?
Huh?
The McVeigh? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in
Alright.
this museum, they have a tablet that you could write on, and it shoots your writing up to the wall, so people put, like, R.I.P., never forget, and stuff like that. So I went in there, knowing me, I was like, religion caused all of this, yet you still believe. Like, I sat there, and I put, like, a bunch of crazy, like, quotes on there. I was just like, no. I put some quote from Richard Dawkins in there, too. I was just like, this is ridiculous. This is the reason all of this happened. It was pretty intense. That shit made me angry, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Some guy just posted on my page, why should I like this page?
On Inciting Incident?
Yeah, like,
Are you ask him, are you trying to incite an incident, sir?
I mean, it's like, am I making you like the page? I don't know.
What brought you here anyway?
we do a show. If you like the show, great. If you don't, great. I don't care. It's just we're doing a thing, and we're hoping we can get attention doing it. I'm not forcing anybody.
We actually made a group for our show to where people could like discuss the show before and after and stuff like that. And we've gotten it's like almost 1,000 people in there at this point. And I asked them, I'm like, how the hell did you find us? Why do we have so many people? And they're just seeing us suggested groups on the side of Facebook. They don't even know that we're a show. They're in the group still, but don't know we're a show. And we're just like, God damn it.
We'll be like, what do you guys think we should talk about on the show tonight? People are like, what show?
Yeah, what are you talking about? What? You know what this group is for, right?
Yeah, I'm wondering if some of your viewers aren't making some of these likes happen, and if you are, great, thanks, I appreciate it.
Well, when I just made the tag now, I tagged your page on it, so probably.
Yeah, much appreciated, and if anybody's watching or listening to this and coming over to our page, we definitely appreciate it. So thank you.
Definitely, and so where do they find your show again?
They can find our show where we broadcast live as Blog Talk Radio /Inciting Incident. We go on Fridays and Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and the episodes can be played after the fact, and you can also find them on iTunes or wherever else they send out podcasts, as well as in our Facebook page, which has already gotten some likes, I'm assuming, from this show. It's facebook.com/Inciting Incident Podcast.
Perfect, and on iTunes, it's also free, right?
Yes, it's definitely free. Throw us a subscription, and you can listen to the episodes that way as well. Although obviously they don't broadcast live via the podcast app. That comes after the fact as well.
Right.
Mhm.
Cool.
Please.
Connie, you have any other questions?
I don't think so. We're coming up on an hour or so.
And you're breaking up.
The
So this
longest
is
attention
the perfect
span
time because
we have. Am I breaking up?
we don't even know what you're saying right now. All I hear is like.
Okay, I'm done.
Yeah,
Alright.
I'm not getting anything.
I don't know what she said.
I don't either.
and it literally started breaking up right at that moment.
Clearly, it was Alex Jones and the chemtrails. So
Well, it was the moon being the part of the satellite that breaks into our brains to tell us the reptilians are coming. That's what it was.
follow
that
the
was
money.
it.
Follow the money.
Connect the dots, people. Connect the dots.
Wake up, sheeple.
God. All right, cool. So thank you very much for... Wait, what? Still don't know what you're saying. You're just really, like, horribly staticky now.
Yeah, I can't hear. I hear a brief noise here and there. That's it.
Yeah, it's like literally just crackling. Alright, well, we'll go ahead and wrap up now. And Al, thank you very much for coming on to the show. Check him out on Inciting Incident every Friday and Sunday, you said, right?
Yep, that's it. Thanks for having me on. It was great to have you on our show as well.
Awesome. Yes, definitely check out last week's interview with me on there.
That was
on
episode
Blog Talk.
12. Yep.
So check out episode 12. You'll hear my voice as well.
And every episode after that, because you now introduce our show.
Yes, perfect. All right, well, thank you very much for coming on. You have a great night. Thank you all for watching.
Excellent. You do the same.